she expressed 10 strong direct ties and 8 weak bridging ties for a total of 18. Number 24, she displayed 12 strong direct ties and 19 bridging ties. So she was very interested in, she was very keenly connected to her metamors, friends of her lovers, friends of friends. And so this was an incredibly dynamic individual, very centralized. And for number 1, she displayed 7 strong direct ties and 10 weak bridging ties. These were the top winners. There were no males in the top 3, but just you know. So I think that I answered my question, which I had looked at. I thought I'd go one more because Gephi is fun. You can do all kinds of things with it. And with my friend, we decided to count the triangles because triangles indicate a strong connection to others in the network. Each node in the network has not only one connection, but a connection to the metamor as well. So you've got your lover, you've got your lover's lover, and you're connected somehow to them. It might be friendship, or it might be that you've selected to be lovers with that person. And so these triangles are very important. And top winners, again, 24 has 11 triangles, 1 has 6, 17, 18, and 25 have 5 triangles, and number 40 and 27 have 4. So this is something that I really tried to illustrate in one power, and this is upside down. So it's very, very bad. These are no triangles. This is 1 triangle. This is 2 triangles, 3 triangles, 4 triangles, which is interesting. No, wait, so 6 and then 11 triangles. So 24 had 11 triangles. So that's transitivity measures. So the results, do we have time for the results?
Yes.
Before so Paris is unique. That's the result. It's small. It's this tiny network that exhibits high levels of endogamy, homophily, and modularity. And again, if you need descriptions or definitions later, let me know. In the multivariate analysis, individuals with strength and resilience had high numbers of intimate ties to others across polycools, more transitive and peripheral links to metamors and friends, and interestingly, a strong sense of family. These 3 top individuals have a strong sense of family and seem to have carved out a niche in the larger poly structure as a home. Their persona is that they are very good with interpersonal relationships and that they represent home for many people. High modularity clustering and bridging links by number 1, number 7, number 11 through 41. And note that 24, while having density and these links, she has fewer links in terms of transitivity. No, she has the greatest. Ignore that. She's forming, it seems like she's forming an empire on her own in some regards. So this one I have a question mark by. I should have erased that one. It's still a question mark as to her placement within the larger polycule. What I do know is she exhibits the highest density and centrality. In all cases, centralized individuals are women. And this is actually connected to what Le Knuth has written about, that polyamory is simply very good for women. Polygyny, no. Polyamory is simply very good for women. And that also it was found to verify what Balzerini wrote, that queerness is highly correlated to poly. And what I mean by queerness is sexual fluidity. On the surface, men tend to strive for multiple partners, but with few meaningful links, whereas women have stronger meaningful links. Females are more likely to adopt hierarchical, dyadic, and triadic bonds with 2 to 4 lovers, whereas men are more likely to adopt non-hierarchical, anarchist, or star constellation forms with 4 to 7 partners. The data show equal numbers of males and females participating. Females are more gender sexual fluid, often adopting bisexuality to become more fully connected to others in this small pool of polyamorous. Men are less likely to adopt bisexuality, but of course there are individuals that I I've recognized in my interviews as being male and bisexual, but those are fewer in number than the females who decide to become bisexual or are naturally bisexual early in life. And perhaps gender as a mitigating factor. I think that this is giving rise to possibly more research. There's a high tendency towards kink, atypical intelligent, gender sexual fluidity, and race and class privilege, just as Christian Cleese had predicted. The data suggests that women are more successful, if you want to call it, density, homophily, centralization. Social network analysis provides a useful tool to understand a tiny polyamory group like the one in Paris. And it also, as Mark had indicated, looks at the possibility of how qualitative data in my conceptualization and my demography work connects to the quantitative data when put into the system. And it provides an interesting triangulation of data. It seems that many of my assumptions with the conceptual mapping were provided validity with the Gephi model. Of course, I need to have a bigger sample, and I'll get funding for that. I'm going to get funding. And I want to do comparative research in Berlin. I need a mathematical testing for homophily right now, today. Give it to me. I'd love some advice on how to shore up more mathematical testing for the data that I have. Mostly I have an Excel document with that data. And of course there's gender, there's various traits, there's 3 to 4 traits, so there's room there for more comparisons. And maybe we could compare some of this data with monogamous communities, why not? Looking at how polyamory is different than monogamy, and with some of the same questions. More studies on class and race privilege, queerness and poly, etc. are needed. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
We're going to open the floor for, I'm sure, enough questions that work. Yes, sure.
I got just one question about, did you include some distant relationship, like the cities or the countries?
Right. There were 3 individuals who had partners in other cities.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them were in Vienna, other places. There seems to be a
There is
partnership
some
there.
teleconnection.
And Vienna's a beautiful town. You have but these were difficult to put in, and I didn't put them in the conceptualization of the map. I really just wanted to look at those who were living in Paris. And to add to that, this may be your next question, with the vertices of each node, I had to make a decision of including those in the last 4 years, okay? Because these polyamory relationships change so rapidly, from year to year, in some cases from week to week. And so I thought, well, to provide the map with some integrity, when somebody was telling me their story, I included everything from the last 4 years. And that may have not been a good idea. I would love some advice. I have a colleague, Pierre-Yves Wattier, who spent several years studying polyamory here. He said that he could not do the network theory because of that fact that the polyamory articulations were changing so rapidly that he felt it would not have internal validity. My comment is, I'm going to use the relationships between individuals in the last 4 years, even if at this time they're no longer with that person, but I will include their exes, just to show the possible connections between individuals. Do you have a question?
Yeah, how are you getting your data?
How am I getting my data? So in-depth interviews. So
You find
it's a
them-
qualitative, so first I was introduced to the community through their leaders. And their leaders then introduced me at the poly meetings and on Facebook and gave me permission. So after that, then I started to ask people questions, and I had most of my data on Facebook message. Most of my good data came from that source. And I think people were very comfortable to answer my questions that way. The others, many, many hours in many, many cafes, drinking a lot of coffee and spending a lot of money on beer. I had a limited budget, but I spent a lot of money on beer.
That distorts the answer.
And, a lot of hours in cafes. These poly meetings, though, were very good for me to be able to just simply gracefully ask questions. People are truly interested in sharing what they know about, polyamory. They're very proud of their value system. And I was very successful.
Had some, well, there's one thing you already addressed a bit, it was about the time dynamics, but yeah, it's probably complicated to analyze, but probably the temporal dynamics of relationships is something interesting by itself. I mean, maybe it may correlate with different structures like hierarchical or non-hierarchical or things like this. I don't know.
I'm not sure I can understand what you're
Sorry.
saying. I'm so sorry.
I'm saying the temporal dynamics, the time dynamics of the
Time,
relationships.
okay.
Yes. I would be curious to know I would have some hypotheses, but how they correlate to, for example, relationship structures or anarchist versus hierarchical arrangements or things like this. And,
You mean
which-
over time,
Yes.
anarchy may not be,
May or may
anarchy
not
doesn't
be.
seem to have longevity.
Yes, that's
that
the
what you're
point,
trying
but
to
I would, yes, but I wonder if it's true actually, because actually I know some people in anarchy who have some very long-standing relationships, which have some very different characteristics, I think, for some other long-standing relationships, but which are still very long time.
You think that hierarchical relationships would have longer longevity? That would
Maybe,
be a good
maybe not.
hypothesis.
That would be the expected hypothesis, but I'm not really sure actually based on
It's
what
a very
I know.
good question, Alex.
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
appreciate that. I think that's a
Good
good question for the future.
Yeah.
I can't answer that right now because I didn't correlate how
Okay, but
many
that-
years, I didn't really look at that.
Yeah.
How many years a person has been tied to another person. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
And whether the longevity relates to any other feature,
Mhm.
especially the type of relationship. Could it be that establishing a kitchen table poly is
Yeah.
going to result into stronger friendship bonds?
Okay.
And I've been convinced that it does. Now I'm seeing that tendency. Good question. Anyone else?
I had just one other question related to what you say. In your conclusion, you say that women seem to be more successful. But how do you define success? Because I mean, it's not a competition.
Right.
You can't really
No, it was a
quantify this.
horrible word.
What?
It's a horrible word to use. I want to define it as just the indication that the top individuals with stronger centrality measures and density measures seem to be female.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that. Of course, men are very successful
No, that's
and
not
they
the
have
point,
incredibly meaningful relationships.
but-
I'm not going to put that in my art, such a biased term.
If they're satisfied with that poly.
Satisfaction. Longevity.
Yeah, because I also thought that actually you
Polysaturation. Polysaturates are not those things that you eat, but it's actually the life you live in polyamory, where you become, it's the point of diminishing returns. You realize, oh, I've got too many lovers, too many friends, too many things to do, especially if you also have children and work and a dog.
Yeah, about you just mentioned it about the demographics. What about other people? How they're based? Are they family based? Are they? What's their civil status basically? Are they married? Are they childless? Are they?
There were, and this, I'd have to go to my article data, but there were only about 11% formally married. Others were cohabiting. If they had strong dyadic tendencies or triadic tendency, they were cohabiting. Yeah, only about 11% had said that they were formally married.
And
So,
children?
of the group that I studied, there were only 8% with children. So this was, and let me say that acquiring this particular subset has a bias to it. You know, these were individuals that were willing to talk to me, that were willing also to tell me about their very private lives. And for that reason, obviously, I'm using numbers instead of names, and I'm respecting the privacy of these individuals. But in that way, it reduces the internal validity because it wasn't a random sample of every 300 to 700 individuals within that network, but only those who attended the meetings, who voiced a very strong value system, who were extrovert enough to talk to me. And so that's obviously going to limit my ability to apply it to the larger group, but we've got to start somewhere. And mind you, my colleague Pierre-Yves, who I mentioned, he was very frustrated by the fact that this is very sensitive material. People don't want to really divulge too much about their private lives. And so for me to go out and talk to introverts and those who are not represented maybe in the 62 is very difficult. The next best thing would be to send them a very private survey with Likert scale options within each question or trait. And from that, I might be able to yield a larger sample. Yes?
I just thought about something. I'm interested in polyamory also for studies or something like that. But I thought it could be a good idea to create temporarily a social media or a social website that could ask the person who are interested to answer some various questions and something really quite interesting.
And say that ethnography, to me, is one of the most accurate ways to get the real picture of people's lives. It may not be that the people I've chosen represent the larger community, but I know a great deal about those people's lives, at least. And the way that I conduct informal interviews, and because of the fact that there's a lot of time spent with individuals, I'm able to get their true story in a more naturalistic setting than what a cold survey on Facebook can do. What I think is we should have both. We should have in-depth interviews and participant observation data, rich ethnographic data, with individuals living and staying in Paris a much longer time than I did, as well as that survey instrument. Together, that would be incredible. Yes.
Have you shared this data back with the community?
I'm doing it right now.
And what are the reactions?
We will find out.
Out?
And
Yeah, what the 24th thought about that? Maybe she didn't know that
Is
she
it time then to ask? And remember that this is a working model. And it does, as far as the networks, it represents the last 4, in some case 4 to 5 years of individual connections. And so it may not appear to represent the current day. But I would like to get some feedback on demographics, whether that summary that I gave you is actually, does it smack of reality in any way? Because this is also what my colleague Pierre-Yves found. He's a doctoral student in Brussels, and he spent 2 years in Paris. Wasn't it a year and a half? And
I spent a time in Paris. It's more between Brussels and Geneva. And you know him, but we haven't seen him.
Okay, so maybe, that's good to know.
He works more in
Okay. But this is what I found, and I would like to know if it relates to what you think is true of the larger poly community. Several of you who I've invited from the group. Please speak your mind.
I have a question about
Sure.
age.
Age. Yeah.
Have you tried any percentages? You know, how old are the people?
Well-
I feel very old when I go to the Café Poly. And I'm 50. And
I got
I'm one of the oldest.
The age was averaging around 30,
Yeah.
as I said. So, of course, you are not old. There are many people who were representing many ages, but of the 62 I averaged it, and it was about 30.
And have you any like 30 or less than 30? How have you done
Yes,
that?
but of course, because there were individuals present that were in their 50s, but there were also individuals in their 20s, and so the average is about 30. And breaking down that would be interesting to see how someone in their 20s has a different structure than someone in their 50s. And that is very important.
Exactly.
There
And
is
it
a
goes back
whole
to-
other study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's
goes back to Alex's questions about
Age,
longevity and you know, it's not the same if you have a 20-year-old couple and you already have children and not when you're 30s.
When you're in your 20s, and this is something that I think that we've often talked about at poly meetings, that you're experimenting, and so your configuration looks poly, but that's because you're dating. You're actually just beginning to date and see what experimentation looks like. When you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, well, that's a different story. Maybe you're more serious about relationships and you have a lot of experience, and so those configurations would be different. Very good question. Mark? Guy?
Just a question with respect to the length in poly relationships and the strength or the size of the network around polycules. Did you find that people very recently in the poly community had just a very small network around them, and those who were in the poly community for a while had much stronger ties or not?
That seems to be an obvious correlation, and I should have, to me it was very obvious that that was the case, but you're right, I should put it down. Definitely, those with more longevity are actually better at it, and they have stronger ties because there's just been simply more time, and they've been able to meet with others in the, poly network. You're right, very good correlation. Stronger centrality are often associated. The three top females were involved in the group anywhere from 3 to 6 years, so they had stronger longevity. I'll write this down. Yes.
So I would like to build on this sort of survey idea. A lot of what we do with CREA, and there are people in the room who are a lot better at it than I am, is sort of citizen science, participatory science, where we try to respectfully move away from the model of a scientist going and questioning and measuring, but asking the people to provide the data to be part of the study in a different way than sort of a questionnaire. So when you mentioned the survey, what I had in mind was, imagine if you had your entire Facebook group represented with little nodes, and you ask people to connect themselves to people with whom they have a connection, and have that anonymous. I mean,
The problem is, in a way, I love your idea, but I think that the information is quite sensitive.
I understand.
Private. And that, well, this is why I think it might be not allowed. One individual said that her partner had already created a network, but he would not, by God, be putting it in public, And so to put that up there may represent a great offense to people because they don't want their relationships broadcast. And people will be able to identify this. And for that reason, perhaps this data itself is too sensitive to publish. I have to look at the ethics of that. Now, if it were done in a way that was with numbers and had anonymity.
Well, the idea would be that what the person filling it sees is real people, but then that gets converted to numbers, and anything that is ever published would be sort of what you're showing here.
With numbers.
And in a sense, if you have 300 participants, it's more anonymous than 60. It'll be harder to recognize these patterns. So no one's individual map is ever shown.
So
It's sort of like
a cluster of 300. It might be interesting for people to actually try to find themselves. So, there I am. oh, she's got that wrong. I'm with him. No, I'm not.
I think with 300 numbers, it might become difficult.
I mean, those networks have, from what I've seen with this network, they have very defined topologies, so you can identify yourself. I think, once you identify yourself,
You can re-identify the rest.
then you can re-identify the rest. So,
Okay, so what if I did this? What if I had individuals have the opportunity on a private anonymous site to build their own polycool?
Yes.
And that I would indicate with a legend how to do that.
No, because you need to match the metaphors. Your neighbors need to be matched to the neighbors of someone
See
else.
how
Otherwise you
complicated
isolate.
this is? This is why it's never been done
Because I
before.
thought about it before, that you have to build
So
something.
what about a conceptualized drawing? And then I translate it into network analysis.
Yeah, but you need ID, at some point you need
How do you
identifiers.
how do you ID somebody?
Yeah, you need an identifier somewhere, that's correct.
Like numbers, like 1, 2, 3, 4.
But we have an app that we can use.
Hmm.
We can log in and we can actually, so we're looking at teamwork in my group. And one thing that we're building is an app that can look at who you're in contact with, how much time you spend with someone. Yes, with Bluetooth. And it's all going to anonymous. And it's all anonymized, or it will all go to a database
Which
of free hosts.
software is it? Is
We're
it-
building it. We're
Oh.
building it.
Oh,
Right?
this is the place.
Yes.
The CRI
Because we're
is
looking
the
at
place.
team performance, and in some sense, if you want, polyamory is team performance, right? But you don't have a team thing to do. You have just your own satisfaction to kind of optimize for, and some kind of collective satisfaction or something. But so it might be a useful tool to
Or
do exactly that.
Open MIT Teams.
No, it doesn't work anymore. They didn't release
They didn't release it?
They got it out. But it's not. I don't think it's.
I would love to see what you've
It's
done.
different because it's emails thing. I think it's good in that context. It's exactly the context where you want physical proximity, or like how many times you've been in contact with someone, etc. And you can document with forms actually why you do that, or something like Manilover.
Yeah.
Do you have something that could help me with these traits? I'm very
Yes.
interested in multiplex
That's
ties. So,
Mm.
you know, concurrent associations with many different levels. You know, whether it's an economic tie or a sexual tie, but also, do you like the same things? Is that something that brought you to poly in the first place? You know, are you attracted to kink, for example?
So that was going to be the other thing I was going to comment on. That in social network analysis, most of the time people do ERGMs for that, exponential random graph models. So the question is, you have to choose a null model. Like say, okay, I expect that this network is formed randomly, so I attach to random people. It doesn't represent well. So then you add, I actually attach to a hub, or I actually close triangles, and you see how it fits. And then you're like, well, actually, I say that I attach to someone because that person is a king zebra, and I'm a king zebra. So then you add attributes, and you add all that sauce, and then that selects automatically what are the best parameters that allows to reproduce this network. So is it that you connect to hub or to king zebra, for example? Like that. So it's.
Is there a way to actually take Excel data and
We can do
that?
it this way, yeah.
Or, because I've got the data.
Yeah, we can do it. But we're gonna do it.
Can we do that?
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
For fun? I don't know if that's today or another time, but today's gonna be, yeah.
But yeah, ERGM is a thing, but ERGM is basically fitting a model to that. But the other question is, how, and you told about it before, is how much it is different from other form of love networks. And there's been a lot of papers on sexual contact networks or relationship networks, which are asynchronous poly networks because everybody has several partners in their lives.
Was it related to
Right. That happens, you've had a contact with a person before and then you move on to that person, but you can still have a network. So you can still have a structure so that you can still fit parameters to that, and you can study longevity and things like that in that parameters, how many dyads, how long each dyad, and is it better to have a strong triad than a dyad, for example, things like that. So that's also another point of comparison, which is not comparing to random model, but comparing to other structures.
This sounds like a book in the making, because each chapter is going to represent a different question.
The book is when we have OkCupid data, I think.
But I am very interested in seeing if we could actually make sense of these multiple ties of commonality or homophily.
With 60, it's hard. With 60 people, it's going to be very noisy. But
at least it'll produce something we can look at.
Yes.
Maybe tomorrow or the next day. We'll keep in touch. I'm so excited, and I do have my data set here, so we can play. Anybody want to join us? Maybe you'll all be here anyway.
It's a poly network study.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Any more questions or?
Yeah, I was wondering how complete your network is. So did you interview all the people that to make the whole graph complete in terms of the molecules you questioned, or are there unobserved people in this network that you just didn't?
No, I didn't directly question. Okay, I had direct interviews with 45. I think I mentioned it somewhere. 45, and then from there I got 17 or 20 additional bits of information about people. And so with those 17, I heard about them from their lovers or from their metamors. Oh, I know someone who's connected here. She's my friend or she's my lover, and she's connected to this person and that person. So their stories were told to me indirectly.
So you can't really differentiate between the terminal node in the network and monopoly?
Well, I tried to use the direct interviews to test the efficacy of what the indirect statements were, and I found that there was no contradictions. And so that helped me further my conceptualized drawing. But I'm sure I made a mistake here or there, and including one strong fact that one node suggested that she didn't want me to include her ex, but her ex is amazing. And her connection to her ex is very important because at one point, 2 years ago, it was a very strong relationship. And so it shows that she has a history to this other polycule, and I wanted to put that in. I don't know if I'm answering.
Yeah,
it
then-
makes sense, but it's just saying it's not the complete network necessarily of all the people involved, because there might be
No,
endpoints which are missing.
no, for example, the question that the man in the beard, your name? Jean. Everyone's Jean, okay. In Paris. Jean said that, didn't you say something about those long distance relationships?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's in the interview data. And that again could be another chapter.